The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Good evening, everybody. This is Councillor Van Betju. Our worship is here. He just got called out for a moment. So I will start the meeting for tonight, November 28th. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Thank you, Your Worship. No additions from administration tonight.
All right. Any additions from anybody else? Oh, he's back.
Yes. You can't hear? Okay. We'll speak up. Additions to the agenda? Nothing. Council? Nothing. We'll move forward then. You have the approval already, Mr. Van Betju? Okay. So we'll start off with approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting held November 14th, 2022. Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'll make that motion.
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Carried. There's no public hearings and notices at this point in time. This will all come in at the end of the day. No delegations, proclamations, or petitions as such. Reports to standing committees. They have none. We have the Police Commission. Councillor Van Betju, if you would deliver that, please.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Speak loudly, please, if you would, please.
A regular meeting of the Weyburn Police Commission was held at the Administrative Boardroom, 4 p.m. Tuesday, November 15th. Councillor Van Betju and City Clerk Richter were absent that day.
Could you speak a little louder?
Sorry.
Some people are saying you can't.
Additions to the agenda: Mayor's Report, Weyburn Police Statistical Report for November, new business, 360 review for the Chief of Police. Correspondence. Chief Blunden provided an up-to-date from the RCMP on the CTSS, which is a Combined Traffic Safety Services Unit. The report included all charges laid by the CTSS unit from Weyburn and other areas for the months of June through September. Under reports, Chief Blunden presented the Mayor's Report for October 2022, which included statistical extract, charges for September, mental health assist calls, Weyburn Police Service Stats Report, Overtime Report, and year versus year crimes against persons. Crimes against property show an increase in comparison to 2021. Chief Blunden highlighted the courthouse reopening, which he said is a positive for our community. His hope is provincial court reopens in the future. The accounts payable report for October was provided to the board, and the bylaw officer report for October was also provided. Chief Blunden noted his discussion with building official Kaufman regarding process for notification of the bylaw officer. He added that moving forward, the new process and forms are in place. Budget report, the Chief's budget report ending October 31st showed a positive variance of $14,540. These reports were moved and seconded and passed as presented. There was no unfinished business. In new business, Chair McCormick was interested in the community consultation process by city administration, inquired of the 2023 preliminary budget feedback. Discussion took place in regards to the budget, and between November 18th and December 12th, a special meeting for the Police Commission will be held to discuss this. Snow removal, Chair McCormick inquired of snow removal process around the police station, including driveways and parking stalls. Weyburn Police Service, he noted that Weyburn Police Service is directed to make its own arrangements for this type of snow removal, which requires additional dollars in the budget. Chief Blunden added Weyburn Police Service can be prepared to pay for this service, but needs to have the details to budget for it. Chair McCormick will send a note to City Clerk Richter and City Manager Warren and add Police Commission to the SPMP agenda on November 28th so clarification can be discussed on this issue. The board received a copy of the Estevan Police Service Inquiry final report, and Chair McCormick inquired if there were any recommendations to the Commission based on the documents presented. Board member Ubik inquired how often Weyburn policies are reviewed, and Chair McCormick said they were reviewed every 2 years. Chair McCormick received an email from HR asking if the Commission would like to continue the practice of 360 review for the chief and to send and it was decided to send a directive motion to HR Manager Hutt to agree with this. The Police Commission moved in camera at 5:38 and back out at 5:48, and the meeting was closed.
This will be marked as received and will be on the city website, the whole report. Consent agenda, there is none. Motions, accounts payable, do I have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that the purchase is in the amount of $511,484.19 from November 11th to November 24th, 2022 be passed for payment.
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Questions? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Director of Engineering Wilkinson, our 2023 water treatment plant chemical supply tender, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you. So this is for the 2023 water treatment chemical supply tender. So City of Weyburn is committed to provide a safe and sufficient supply of drinking water to the residents. Weyburn's water comes from Nickel Lake to the water treatment plant, where it goes through a series of treatments, filtration system, and disinfection process before being sent to the distribution system. Chemicals required for the treatment and disinfection processes used by the Weyburn water treatment plant are supplied and delivered by various licensed chemical suppliers. Chemical pricing is directly affected by unprecedented fluctuations in global supply chains, raw materials, and inbound transport of product. Therefore, chemical companies are reluctant to bid on multiple year contracts. For this reason, the city typically only awards suppliers with a 1 to 2 year chemical supply contract. This is why you typically see this at every year end. On October 20th, the City of Weyburn posted the tender on SAS Tenders on the city website. Chemicals obtained through the competitive bid process will be utilized in water treatment process in 2023 under these annual contracts. Quotations were to be received by November 14th at 1 p.m. A total of 6 tenders were received, but only 5 met all bid pricing requirements outlined in the tender, and this included a non-conditional fixed for the contract term and inclusive of all surcharges, freight, and fuel. The results of the qualifying tenders are as follows. So as you can see, the companies kind of bid on what they were able to supply. So based on the prices below, it is recommended that the following 2023 chemical supply be awarded as follows. Brenntag would be awarded the supplies of potassium permanganate and sodium hypochlorite. ClearTech would be awarded the supplies of the chlorine gas toners, hydrofluorosilicic acid, sodium hydroxide, soda, caustic soda, and ammonium sulfate. Border Chemical Company be awarded the supply of liquid aluminum sulfate, and Northland would be awarded the supply of Norfloc 122. Thank you.
Do we have a motion including all those chemicals, please?
We do, Your Worship. Apparently the guy with the science background gets to read this.
Well, they're very good.
So I'll do my best. Move that council accept the following bids for the 2023 chemical supply for the water treatment plant. Brenntag Canada Incorporated, potassium permanganate in the amount of $7.68 per kilogram. Brenntag Canada Incorporated, sodium hypochlorite, $2.76 per liter. Pails and $2.25 per liter barrels. ClearTech Industries, chlorine gas tonners in the amount of $2.18 per kilogram. ClearTech Industries, sodium hydroxide in the amount of 82 cents per kilogram. ClearTech Industries, ammonium sulfate in the amount of $3.97 per kilogram. ClearTech hydrofluorosilicic salicylic acid in the amount of $1.98 per kilogram for 22% solution. Border Chemical Company Limited liquid aluminum sulfate in the amount of $462.98 per ton. And Northland Chemical Corporation Norflock 122 in the amount of $12.17 per kilogram.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Questions? Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Jennifer, did you find that a lot of these prices did go a lot higher? And will the supply chain, like, do you see a problem with any of them coming to Weyburn at all?
We're seeing increases on everything. It's just been standard across the board. So we saw chemical increases, I think we saw a bit last year, and I think even last year was maybe a little more unpredictable in what they're willing to supply. We have not ran into a situation where we haven't been able to get it, but we have seen some delays. But our water treatment plant superintendent has been very good at making sure anywhere that we can buy it, more of it, to have it on hand to ensure that we don't have any issues. He's been very conscious of that. So we are just doing a lot more on our inventory management to make sure that we don't run into a situation where we don't have it.
Thank you.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We are now introduction of bylaws. City Manager Warren for the building bylaw 2022-3451. If you would,
Thank you, Your
please.
Worship. So this will be requesting a second and third reading for the bylaws. We presented this originally on November the 14th to Council. So a little background, the City of Weyburn currently has a building bylaw adopted under the Uniform Building and Accessibility Standards Act. In 2021, the UBAS Act was replaced with the Construction Codes Act, and therefore the building bylaw and reference therein need to be updated. So the following are some changes that Amanda Kaufman, our building official, is recommending to Council. So number one is under definitions for designated officer, to have it added this to the definition. Also for unsafe conditions, added this to definition as well. For unsafe conditions, added this to section to replace division 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the property maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw, as there are code-related minimum standards that are set out in National Building Code. So right now we're asking for recommendation reading of second and third reading for bylaw 2022-3451.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Make a motion that bylaw 2022-3451, the building bylaw for the City of Weyburn, be read a second time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Questions? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. No public feedback on
We
this
received
one?
no public feedback at all from that.
Thanks.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Yep.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll move that bylaw 2022-3451, the building bylaw for the City of Weyburn, be read a third time and passed.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Mr. Warren, 2022-3452, maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Again, we had our first reading at the November 14th meeting for this bylaw. So let me pull up the bylaw. So the City of Weyburn currently has a property maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw, which is in place to assist regulating property maintenance and standards, along with neighborhood standards, to provide a healthy and safe community for all. So the current bylaw was adopted in 2004 and has been updated through these changes as required, or as put forth by Amanda. For number one is definitions. First one is building. Amended definition to be the same as the Cities Act. B, bylaw enforcement officer, added this definition. Also for designated officer, add that definition. Habitual room, same thing, they deleted that definition. And municipal inspector also deleted that definition. Under part 2, under nuisances, remove sections 8, part 5, section 9, part 2, and section 10, part 2, all of which stated that after being served with an order for noncompliance, no person shall be permitted in the same occurrence, same to occur. Number 3, remove division 2. building standards for exteriors. Number 4, removed division number 3 for building standards for interiors. The 5th change was removed division 4, which is additional standards for dwelling units. Number 6, removed division 5. That's for basement and attic occupancies. The 7th change was part 5, which is old part 4, which is enforcement. Change administration enforcement of this bylaw from the Director of Engineering to the bylaw enforcement officer or other designate. We're also having changes to delegate for that authority from the Director of Engineering to the City Manager. The 8th change is Part 5 of Section 10, added point 4, after having been served with an order under any provisions of this bylaw, no person or owner shall permit or allow the same contravention to occur. So historically, the property maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw, inspections, orders, enforcement to carry out work, and invoicing was all done through the engineering department. Therefore, some of the information was out of date and needed to be brought to the current state. All divisions pertaining to building and dwelling units have been moved into the building bylaw under a new section, as those issues are building code related and constitute an unsafe condition under the new Construction Codes Act. A new procedure and process for bylaw enforcement will also be reviewed and used to ensure consistency. Bylaw enforcement is regulated under the Cities Act with some minimum requirements, and the city needs to ensure that this process is followed correctly. So recommendation is recommended that City Council gives bylaw 2022-3452 second and third reading tonight.
Do you have a motion, please?
Your worship, I'll make the motion that bylaw 2022-3452, the property maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw for the City of Weyburn, be read a second time.
Your worship, I will second that motion.
Questions? Go ahead, Mr. Richards.
Any public feedback at all?
No comments were received, Councillor Richards.
Mr. Janke? Comment? No. Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Go ahead.
Your worship, I'll make the motion that bylaw number 2022-3452, the property maintenance and nuisance abatement bylaw for the City of Weyburn, be read a third time and passed.
Your worship, I will also second that motion.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The bylaw is passed. Director of Finance, Ms. Owl, 2022-3455, if you would, please.
Good evening. So the SAMA sends out our numbers for our supplemental roll, and we had not received our sup roll assessments as of this report date last week. So we have to apply for an extension because it's required to go out by December 1st. We actually did just receive it today, but I'm not sure that it'll go out by December 1st, so we'll get the extension anyway. So the extension date was asked for to be January 31st, and that will give us enough time to assess the roll and send it out.
Do you have a motion, please?
Your worship, I would move that bylaw 2022-3455, a bylaw to extend the time required for the completion of the 2022 supplementary assessment roll, be read a first time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Questions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Go ahead.
Your worship, I would move that bylaw 2022-3455, a bylaw to extend the time required for the completion of the 2022 supplementary assessment roll, be read a second time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
And your worship, I would move that bylaw 2022-3455, a bylaw to extend the time required for the completion of the 2022 supplementary assessment roll, be given 3 readings at this meeting.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Go ahead.
Your worship, I would move that bylaw 2022-3455, a bylaw to extend the time required for the completion of the 2022 supplementary assessment roll, be read a third time and passed.
And I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. There's no unfinished business, but I just want to interrupt just for 1 second. I don't know if it was noted, but it should be noted that Mr. Mickle is absent here again today from sitting as council. New business, budget public feedback. City Manager, if you would, please.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So at the October 24th regular council meeting, City of Weyburn proposed a 10.34% increase in taxes for the 2023 municipal budget. This percentage equals out the proposed increase of $991,000 $991,988. So we're distributed as follows. So we have increases per department and percentages listed on the document in front of you. The proposal for the City of Weyburn is preliminary budget. The following are the key dates that are followed through the budget process. So after the presentation on October 24th, we sought public input from October 25th to November 18th. That was sought through two different forms, either by comments through a comment form on our city website or by email. Also, we provide an opportunity at tonight's meeting for anyone to provide as a delegation. So people had until November 18th to contact City Clerk Richter to state they're going to come as delegation tonight. Moving forward, the plan is to have on December 12th final budget approval at a regular scheduled council meeting. As discussed, following the presentation on October 24th, we provided an opportunity for input from October 25th to November 18th. During the public input period, comments were received from 88 respondents. So I actually included all the responses received under Appendix A for council to review. The following is a summary of comments received from the respondents. First one is a request for a tax freeze or a decrease in taxes. So that was 41 comments in regards to that. Support for an increase at a lower rate than the proposed 10.34. We had received 27 comments in regards to that. 3 comments were in support of the proposed increase. We received 17 comments requesting for a freeze or a reduction in city employee wages or benefits. 16 comments about improvements to our streetlights, roads, sidewalks, and snow removal. We did not receive any that are administrative and finance focused. It's more in our departments as we went through. Leisure Services Department focused, there's 12 of them, and there's focus on funding, operations, capital, the Credit Union Spark Center, before and after school programs, leisure facilities being open during stat holidays. For the Parks Department, there was 5 focused comments is in regards to operations, weed control, and community gardens. Police Department had 18 directed focused comments, which is for funding, operations, vehicle purchase, and taser replacement. The Fire Department had 4, which was operations, the rapid response vehicle, and protective clothing. Under Public Works Department, water treatment plant, so this is all non-street focused comments. It was about funding, operations, capital, fleet purchase, message board, community cleanup, and refuse and recycling programs. And then there was one directed towards planning development, which is about urban farming. So you have a chart that shows the comments. The one thing I do want to thank the public for the comments. Having 88 respondents was a great feedback from the community. And I think that it was a good start for us, the municipality, to have those responses received. And we'll improve this process as we move forward. Another key thing is that, demographics of what we heard. When you go through the comments, you're hearing things from new homeowners, long-serving residents, single families, seniors. You had a really large cross-section of people who were providing responses. Is very, very good to see. And for me, this is, again, just the start of what we want to do more in the future. And I really hope this is going to assist council moving forward when we move forward in the budget process. So for me, a recommendation is I recommend that city accepts the input received for the 2023 budget as information. Also, I'd like to let you know, Mayor Roy, that we have one delegation, which is the Weyburn Youth Council for tonight as well.
So with that, the Grayson Nifel here is the youth mayor, and you had, you as the youth council, you kind of got together, discussed this, and you have the report from the youth council. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Grayson Nitful, and I am the Youth Council Mayor, speaking to you on behalf of the Weyburn Youth Council. We are not tax-paying members of the community, but we feel it is our responsibility as the city's Youth Council to share our voice on matters that are important to us. We recently discussed the proposed budget with our city council and staff supports. They helped us understand the budget process and answered questions we had about where taxpayer money was going and why. I am here today to share with you specific community priorities that matter to us as representatives of Weyburn's youth. We believe to grow our community, we need to show new residents the city's value and provide opportunities that make them want to stay. We feel that roads and infrastructure should be one of the biggest priorities in the budget. We also want to see a budget supporting commercial incentives and beautification of the community. We are confident our City Council will make the best decisions going forward that support our community's future. Thank you for hearing our considerations and for allowing our community the opportunity to provide input on the 2023 budget. That's all.
Thank you, Grayson. Very well put. Comments from council on anything? Mr. Janke?
Very well done. Thank you for the feedback. I think we would all agree one of the things we appreciate the most in terms of feedback is what the priority should be and what should never get cut. And you've provided that today, and that's wonderful. Also, great to have you guys here. You are always welcome.
Anything else? Comments on there? Okay, just on the budgetary one, again, council will be discussing the budget, taking all this stuff into consideration. We'll be discussing the budget again, and we'll be coming back on for final budget on when?
December 12th, Your Worship.
December 12th on that. So with that, we are designing the city to be, as the one person who put it to me, Scotty Bowman, one of the great coaches there, designed winning teams. We are designing the same thing for a winning city, which I believe that we look at our budgets. It costs to have a nice city, and that's what we're looking at. And we listen to the costs. These are tough times, times that we have never seen for 20 years on this, but of inflation and increases in utilities as such. So we are taking everything in consideration and trying to do the best that we can, because utilities, essential services have to be maintained, and we will go from there. Mr. Connor.
I wrote this down so it'll look like because I don't speak off the cuff very well, and I think I'll speak for a lot of council here today, and I say, you know, Weyburn is, I feel, is one of the best places in the prairies to live. This has been emphasized the last few years in numerous media publications. It's a safe community, a very appealing community visually, has many amenities for our residents to use, and is relatively affordable. To create and maintain this level, we must fund the various city departments adequately. I understand fully with inflation and rising interest rates, finding extra money for property taxes is not high on a resident's priority list, and is certainly harder for some than it is for others. I do believe that city operations are done efficiently, but I also believe that we can do better, and we must find further efficiencies in either our operations or capital expenditures to reduce tax increases to the smallest increase possible while still maintaining our living standards. I looked through this budget on the weekend, and I thought, well, geez, there's some of these pieces of equipment that we don't need, that we can maybe put off. And I talked to a friend of mine who lives in a bigger city, and his son goes to a school in Calgary where their air conditioner broke down last spring, and they're still waiting for parts to replace it. So I know some of the products that we need to be done may not be broken yet, but they need to be replaced because they're at the end of life. And if we wait for them to break down, then we're going to be in a similar situation where we're waiting for a furnace or an air conditioner for an unknown amount of time. The supply chains are just so horrible now, so it's a difficult time for making decisions for sure, but I think we have to be very prudent in the decisions we do make, but rest assured, I think this council will make tough decisions, and we hopefully will be able to bring this down to a more reasonable amount. Myself personally, I don't believe that a zero rate is possible. I think we made that mistake many years ago, and that probably put us in a little tougher position today. But tax increases are unfortunately needed at this time, but hopefully we can bring it to a minimum.
Mr. Richards? What's up?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every person who sent in comments, replied to the city website, who's taken their time to come and sit at council tonight. Please know that this isn't something that we take lightly. We're taxpayers as well, and we do not want to see taxes get any higher than they already are, but we do have to walk that fine line where we balance what the priorities of the city are and what the necessities are for the city versus, how much we want to raise taxes, which, again, we don't want to, but it's a necessary evil to keep the city going. So we will do our best to keep things as affordable as possible to live here in Weyburn.
The final comment is that we are at the leisure of the province and the federal government too. We are at their leisure, and so we have to balance. Some days they open the purse strings, other days they close them. So we have to work with what we've got. Our city's staff, our administrator, director of engineering, all the departments work with what is available, and then we strive hard to make this one of the best winning cities in the province. That being said, any other comments? Seeing no further comments from council, then we move forward. Backyard chickens, if you would, please. Victor? City Clerk?
You bet. Sorry. All right. Majesta Malcolm appeared as a delegation on September 12, 2022, regular council meeting, requesting council approve a 2-year pilot project to allow backyard chickens in the city of Weyburn. The City of Weyburn bylaw 945, with an amending bylaw of number 1128, prohibits the keeping of livestock or poultry in the City of Weyburn unless it is a group or person or club association for the keeping of livestock or poultry in the city for an exhibit or a zoo or a special event, but it has to be approved by council resolution. And then due to the current City of Weyburn bylaw prohibiting poultry in the City of Weyburn, if council wishes to request the bylaw to be allowing for poultry, we would have to repeal or amend the existing bylaw. Staff have reached out to several municipalities in Saskatchewan whether they allow for backyard chickens, and there are no cities in Saskatchewan that permit backyard chickens. However, we are aware of a few towns and villages in Saskatchewan that allow for urban hens with their municipality. One of those towns is the town of Kamsack, who approved a pilot project in July of 2021, allowing for a maximum of 10 properties to have backyard chickens with a maximum of 4 chickens per yard, with roosters and butchering chickens prohibited. Staff reached out to Kamsack to find out more information and were informed that although the project was approved, no urban chicken applications have been submitted and or approved since the project was initiated. If council wished to consider backyard chickens, the city bylaw 945 prohibiting this practice would be required to be repealed or amended, and council may look at other bylaws regulating animals in the city of Weyburn at the same time to consolidate all control of animals into one animal control bylaw. In addition to this bylaw, the city of Weyburn currently has a dog and cat bylaw, and recently city council approved a beekeeping bylaw. The Cities Act provides cities with the power to pass bylaws relating to wild and domestic animals and activities in relation to them. Items to consider when you are thinking about backyard chickens are a benefit would be it is an option for residents to be self-sufficient with egg production. Some of the risks are a risk of increased wildlife and rodents in the city, such as skunks, foxes, coyotes, rats, etc. Risk of wildlife harming chickens. Risk of the avian influenza disease and public health hazards. Potential smell and noise being a nuisance for city residents. Difficulty of enforcement. Capacity or mandate of animal rescue provider, including shelter availability. As well as costs associated with enforcement and increased animal control as a result of increased wildlife. Staff reached out to the Humane Society to see if they would have capacity to assist with chickens in the city. They advised that they likely would not have the capacity to handle taking in chickens in addition to the cats and dogs they already take in. They also had concerns about the diseases associated with chickens and the risks that may pose to dogs and cats at the Humane Society. Over the past several years, many Saskatchewan municipalities have received similar requests to the one before us tonight. However, most municipal councils have chosen to continue to prohibit urban chickens due to various concerns as listed. Some of the options that staff have provided for council are option 1, to continue to keep in place the existing bylaw prohibiting the keeping of poultry in the city of Weyburn and decline the arrest for approval of backyard chickens. Option 2, direct staff to undertake the preparation of a backyard chicken pilot project, which would require an amendment to the current bylaw for the allowance of such an undertaking. Or option 3, direct staff to begin preparations of amending and repealing the existing bylaw for the control and keeping of livestock, poultry, and other similar animals in the city of Weyburn. If council chooses option 2, undertaking a backyard chicken pilot project, staff would recommend public consultation to allow residents to provide input to council implementing the pilot project. That being taken into consideration, the limited benefits as well as the risks involved in approving the request to allow for backyard chickens in the city of Weyburn, it is recommended that City Council would deny the request.
Your Worship, I am sorry to move that existing bylaw 945 prohibiting the keeping of poultry in the city of Weyburn remain in effect and the request for the approval of backyard chickens in the city be denied.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Comments? Seeing none? All in favor? Backyard chickens is denied.
Thank you.
On that. Inquiries and announcements. Anything? Mr. Crow?
I've got a couple, Your Worship. So first off, just wanted to pass on a thank you to the community. We experienced unexpected closure at the Weyburn Leisure Center last week. We had a pressure tank malfunction that affected our ability to heat the pool, but I am happy to say that we are open for business following our regular programming schedules, and the water is sitting right where we want it to be. And then the second thing I just wanted to bring up on behalf of Weyburn Tourism, starting on December 5th will be the annual River Park Sparkles event. It's not a City of Weyburn event. However, we are very happy to host the community in River Park, so that starts next week.
As is the Parade of Lights on Thursday. At what time does that start? Do you remember? 7 o'clock? Grayson, on behalf of the Youth Council, being involved in the school, you want to talk about what's going on tomorrow night at the school? The fowl supper?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, so the fowl supper is running tomorrow, and I believe that every school group at our school is having volunteers to work at that.
Right, and that is from 5 till 7, $20 a person to go to that. On that. Mr. Van Betju?
I'm going to look at Councillor Morissette and Richards, because I think I'm correct in saying this. Are we going to be pouring hot chocolate on Thursday night in front of, right next door, previous to the parade or during the parade?
That is true, and I understand some of the other councillors can't come, so I've recruited my daughter to come and help us as well. So if everybody wants to stop by and grab some hot chocolate while you're watching the parade, that would be fantastic.
Yes.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to give a nod to our Youth Council. I sat through that meeting a couple of weeks ago when they had a look at the city budget, and it was no fluff piece for me, being the councillor in the room. Hard questions. Some of them I couldn't even answer very easily. I had to get Danette to help me out a couple times. So they brought hard questions, and they brought very real feedback, and you heard it a few minutes ago from our youth mayor. So, and I think almost everybody is here tonight except for maybe one. So thank you guys all. That was an enjoyable process for me, and good for our community and good for you guys. Thank you.
Jen?
Yes, the city engineering department would just like to be a reminder out to all residents to take a little extra time on your commute. It is slippery out and we are seeing a lot more snow, and we'll see a bit more over the next few days. We do have our sounders out as well as our city crews, and they will be working on primary and secondary priority routes over the next few days. But there's a lot of blowing snow, and we just ask that drivers, please stay a safe distance from the snow removal equipment and just take a little extra time in your commute as we try and get the snow cleared as fast as we can. So just a little reminder out there with the winter weather hitting us quite nicely today and over the next few days.
Okay. No further inquiries and announcements. There's no notice of motion, and so we therefore call a adjournment of the meeting. Thank you.